Welcome back to the channel, and may peace and light be with you in this exact moment. Today, we're going to explore something that most people experience but very few dare to talk about openly. There's a reason for that silence, isn't there? Fear, uncertainty, the worry that others might think you're losing your grip on reality. But here's the truth that Edgar Cayce, one of the most renowned psychics and spiritual teachers in history, revealed to the world. The departed are around us far more, often than we could ever imagine. Have you ever woken up in the dead of night, heart pounding, with the absolute certainty that someone just whispered your name? Or maybe you've felt that unmistakable chill run down your spine, that sudden coldness that makes every hair on your body stand on edge, even though you're completely alone in a warm room. What if I told you that these aren't random occurrences, and they're certainly not your imagination playing tricks on you? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. And if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our future videos. Now, Cayce taught something profound that challenges everything we think we know about the barrier between life and death. He explained that spirits don't see us the way we see each other. They don't perceive our physical bodies or our faces. Instead, they perceive something much more fundamental, our vibration, our energy, our spiritual light. And here's where it gets truly fascinating. Some of us shine brighter than others in that invisible realm. Certain people, based on their astrological blueprint, emit a frequency that acts like a beacon in the darkness, drawing spiritual entities toward them without them having the slightest awareness of what's happening. Has this ever happened to you? You're sitting quietly, reading a book or watching television, and suddenly you get this overwhelming sensation that someone is standing directly behind you. Your rational mind tells you it's impossible. You lock the door, you're alone, there's no one else in the house, but every cell in your body is screaming that you are not alone. You turn around slowly, almost afraid of what you might see, and of course, there's nothing there, just empty space. But the feeling doesn't go away, does it? That's because your spiritual senses are picking up on something your physical eyes cannot detect. Or perhaps you've experienced those inexplicable moments at 3 in the morning when you jolt awake for no apparent reason, pulled from sleep by an invisible force. The room is dark and silent, yet something feels different. The air feels thicker somehow, charged with an energy you can't quite name, but definitely can feel pressing against your skin. Stay with me until the end, because what you're about to discover might just explain every unexplained moment you've ever experienced, every strange occurrence you've rationalized away, every spiritual encounter you've dismissed as coincidence. Edgar Cayce spent decades studying the connection between the living and the dead, and what he discovered will change how you see your own experiences forever. According to his extensive readings and spiritual insights, there are 9 specific zodiac signs that serve as natural doorways between our world and the next. These 9 zodiac signs aren't just randomly chosen based on ancient astrological texts or mystical speculation. They represent something far more profound, a vibrational signature that transcends the physical realm and creates what Cayce called spiritual doorways. Think of it like this. Imagine the universe as a vast ocean of energy with different frequencies rippling through it constantly. Most people move through life at a frequency that's relatively neutral, blending into the background noise of existence. But certain individuals, those born under specific astrological configurations, emit a frequency that stands out like a lighthouse beam cutting through fog. The departed, existing in their own dimension of consciousness, are naturally drawn to these beacons. They don't choose to seek you out based on your sun sign. It's not that simple or superficial. Rather, your entire energetic makeup creates a magnetic pull that they cannot resist, whether they're seeking help, trying to deliver a message, or simply drawn to the warmth of your living energy. This revelation demands courage to accept because it fundamentally challenges the way we've been taught to view reality. We live in a world that prizes the tangible, the measurable, the provable. But what about the inexplicable moments that happen in the quiet spaces of our lives? Those instances when your intuition screams warnings that save you from disaster, or when you suddenly think of someone you haven't spoken to in years, only to receive their phone call moments later. These aren't coincidences. They're evidence of a hidden truth operating just beneath the surface of ordinary perception. The decision to acknowledge this reality is a transformative one. It means stepping away from comfortable skepticism and embracing the possibility that you've been part of something extraordinary all along without realizing it. Your experiences weren't delusions or overactive imagination. They were genuine encounters with a dimension that exists parallel to our own, intersecting with our reality in ways science is only beginning to understand. If this resonates with you, hit that subscribe button. We dive deep into spiritual truths that most channels won't touch, and I want you here for what's coming next. Now, here's what most people don't realize about spiritual contact, and this might be the most important piece of this entire puzzle. You don't need to be a professional, medium, or psychic to experience communication with the other side. In fact, the vast majority of spiritual encounters happen to ordinary people who have no special training, no conscious awareness of their abilities, and no intention of making contact. These interactions occur in the liminal spaces of consciousness, during that twilight moment between waking and sleeping, during meditation, when your mind quiets and opens, or even during mundane daily activities when your guard is down and your rational mind isn't filtering every sensation through skepticism. The spirits work with what they have access to, and your openness, even unconscious openness, is all the invitation they need. Your dreams become their canvas for communication. Your thoughts become their messaging system. Your body becomes their instrument for making their presence known through chills, sudden temperature changes, or that inexplicable feeling of being watched. The impact of understanding this cannot be overstated. It means that every strange experience you've ever had might have been a genuine attempt at contact from someone who has crossed over. If something inside you is stirring as you hear this, if recognition is dawning in your consciousness, then write in the comments, "I am not afraid of the truth." This isn't just a phrase. It's a declaration that you're ready to see what's been hidden in plain sight all along. Edgar Cayce explained this phenomenon in a way that completely revolutionizes how we understand spiritual perception. When a spirit exists in the non-physical realm, they don't navigate their reality the way we navigate ours. They're not looking for faces or bodies or physical markers to identify people. Instead, they're tuned into something far more fundamental. The pure energetic signature that each of us broadcasts into the universe every single moment of our existence. Think of it like radio frequencies. Your physical body is just the radio, but your true essence, your consciousness, your soul, that's the signal being transmitted, and that signal has a unique quality, a specific vibration that identifies you more accurately than any photograph or name ever could. Some people broadcast on frequencies that are naturally more accessible to those on the other side. Their signal is clearer, stronger, more vibrant. It cuts through the static of material existence like a voice calling out in perfect clarity across a crowded room. This is why certain individuals consistently have unexplainable experiences, while others go their entire lives never sensing anything beyond the ordinary. It's not about being special or chosen. It's about the frequency at which your consciousness naturally operates. The transformation in understanding comes when you realize that your most vulnerable moments are actually your most receptive ones. Every night, when you lay your head down and close your eyes, surrendering to sleep, something extraordinary happens that you're completely unaware of. Your consciousness, which spends all day firmly anchored to your physical form, begins to loosen its grip. It's not a complete separation. You're not having full-blown out-of-body experiences every single night. But there's enough detachment that your spirit can wander in ways it cannot during waking hours. This is the hidden truth behind why dreams feel so vivid, why certain dreams carry emotional weight that stays with you for days afterward, why you sometimes wake up more exhausted than when you went to bed. Your spirit was active, it was traveling, meeting, learning, working in dimensions that your conscious mind cannot access while you're awake. The encounters happening in these liminal states are genuine spiritual interactions, but they're filtered through dream symbolism because your waking consciousness lacks the framework to process them directly. That person you dreamed about who passed away years ago wasn't just a memory your brain was processing. They were actually there with you in a realm where physical death poses no barrier to connection. But here's where the journey gets even more profound. Cayce's readings revealed something that explains why some people seem naturally gifted in sensing the unseen. He taught that we don't come into this life as blank slates. We carry imprints from previous incarnations, memories encoded not in our conscious minds, but in the very fabric of our spiritual essence. Certain zodiac placements indicate souls who have walked this path before, who served as bridges between worlds in previous lifetimes. These ancient sensitivities don't disappear just because you're born into a new body. They remain part of your energetic blueprint, creating openings in your awareness that others simply don't have. It's why a child might see things that adults dismiss, why some people just know things without being told, why certain individuals carry wisdom that seems far beyond their years. The decisions made in past lives, the spiritual work undertaken in previous incarnations, the commitments made by your soul long before this current body existed, all of it shapes your receptivity in the present moment. If you've ever felt like you've carried knowledge you couldn't possibly have learned in this lifetime, drop a comment saying, "I remember." This brings us to one of the most misunderstood aspects of spiritual sensitivity, the physical and emotional toll it takes on those who possess it. You might be someone who experiences waves of emotion that seem to come from nowhere. You're going about your day perfectly fine, and suddenly tears start streaming down your face for no reason you can identify. Or you watch a news story about someone you've never met and feel their pain so intensely it becomes your own. Friends and family might tell you you're too sensitive, that you need to toughen up, that you're being overly emotional. But what they don't understand, what even you might not have realized until this moment, is that you're not just feeling your own emotions, you're picking up on energetic frequencies from realms beyond the physical. Your consciousness is porous in ways that allow spiritual information to bleed through, and that information often manifests as seemingly inexplicable emotional responses. The exhaustion is real too. Those mornings when you wake up feeling like you've run a marathon despite sleeping 8 hours, when your body feels heavy and your mind feels foggy, as if you've been working through the night. That's because on some level you have been. Your spirit was engaged in activities that your conscious mind cannot remember, but your body certainly registers. This isn't dysfunction or illness. It's the natural consequence of operating as a bridge between dimensions. The transformation in perspective happens when you stop trying to rationalize these experiences through conventional frameworks and instead recognize them for what they truly are. This isn't about magic spells or supernatural powers granted by mystical forces. We're talking about measurable, albeit subtle, vibrational frequencies that your entire being emits constantly. Every thought you think, every emotion you feel, every intention you hold creates ripples in the energetic field surrounding you. Your heart, not just the physical organ but your energetic heart center, pulses with a signature frequency that carries the accumulated wisdom and experience of every lifetime your soul has lived. When someone on the other side encounters that frequency, there's a recognition that transcends words or conscious understanding. It's like hearing a song from your childhood and instantly being transported back to that time and place. The departed sense in you something familiar, something that resonates with their own frequency, and they're naturally drawn to that resonance the way light is drawn to light. Now, here's the revelation that pulls all of this together. Edgar Cayce made it abundantly clear in his readings that the zodiac sign itself isn't what matters. It's what that sign represents in terms of energetic configuration. Your sun sign, your moon placement, your rising sign, all the various components of your astrological chart create a unique blueprint that determines how open or closed you are to interdimensional contact. Certain combinations create wider doorways, thinner veils, shorter distances between this world and the next. These aren't arbitrary designations. They reflect ancient patterns of soul development and spiritual capacity that have been recognized across cultures and throughout history. Some people are born with a natural ability to sense what others cannot, and their astrological makeup is the fingerprint of that ability. The impact of understanding this truth cannot be understated. It means your experiences are valid, your sensations are real, and you're not losing your mind. You're simply wired differently. If this is resonating deeply within you, type in the comments, "I'm finally understanding." Let me walk you through some of the most common signs that spiritual contact is occurring right under your nose. Signs you've probably dismissed 100 times without realizing their true significance. You're sitting in your living room, comfortable and relaxed, and without warning, the temperature drops so dramatically that goosebumps cover your arms, and you can see your breath in the air. Or the opposite happens. A wave of heat washes over you despite the air conditioning running full blast. Your rational mind immediately starts searching for logical explanations. Is there a draft? Did the heating system malfunction? But deep down, in that place where instinct lives, you know something else is happening. These temperature fluctuations aren't mechanical failures, they're energetic signatures. When a spirit draws near to our physical dimension, they have to compress their vibration to make contact with our denser reality, and that compression creates measurable changes in the environment. The cold you feel isn't just temperature, it's energy being drawn from the space to facilitate a spiritual presence manifesting close to you. The heat isn't random. It's the friction of two different vibrational frequencies attempting to occupy the same space simultaneously. The atmosphere itself tells you when something beyond the ordinary is taking place. You've experienced this before, even if you didn't recognize it for what it was. The air in the room suddenly feels thick, almost solid, as if you're moving through invisible resistance. There's a weight pressing down on the space, a density that makes even breathing feel different. Your intuition kicks into high gear, and every nerve in your body screams that something significant is about to occur. This isn't paranoia or anxiety. This is your subtle senses detecting the thinning of the veil between worlds. The spiritual plane is literally drawing closer to our material reality, and the atmospheric pressure changes just as it would if a massive storm were approaching. Your body, which is far more sensitive than your conscious mind gives it credit for, picks up on these shifts instantly. The hair on your arms stands up, your heart rate changes, your focus sharpens. These are survival instincts, recognizing something your analytical mind struggles to categorize. But perhaps the most unsettling and simultaneously fascinating form of contact comes through your own thoughts. You're thinking about your day, processing normal everyday concerns, and suddenly a thought appears in your mind that is completely foreign to your usual patterns. It's not just an unusual idea, it feels different, sounds different, carries a weight or tone that isn't yours. Sometimes it's a complete phrase spoken in a voice that isn't your internal monologue. Other times, it's a memory of an event you know you never experienced, yet the details are so vivid and specific that it feels more real than your actual memories. This is direct communication, attempting to bypass the normal barriers between dimensions. A consciousness from the other side is literally placing information into your awareness, using your own mind as the receiving instrument. The challenge is that most people immediately dismiss these intrusions as random brain activity, imagination, or stress-induced confusion. They rationalize it away because accepting the alternative that someone or something is communicating directly into their consciousness is too transformative a concept to integrate without a shift in their entire understanding of reality. If you've experienced these exact phenomena and they're suddenly making sense, leave a comment that says, "It's been happening to me." Your body knows things before your mind catches up, and nowhere is this more evident than in those moments when every cell in your being registers a presence that your eyes cannot confirm. That distinctive chill that races up the back of your neck, that prickling sensation across your shoulders, that absolute knowing that someone is standing behind you even though logic insists you're alone. These aren't misfiring neurons or overactive imaginations. Your physical form is equipped with sensory capabilities that extend far beyond the five senses we're taught to rely on. These ancient detection systems, inherited from ancestors who needed to sense danger in the dark, remain active in you today, but they're picking up on threats of a different nature. They're detecting shifts in energy fields, fluctuations in electromagnetic frequencies, presences that exist just outside the narrow bandwidth of visible reality. When you turn around expecting to see someone and find empty space, your disappointment or relief shouldn't diminish the validity of what you sensed. The presence was real, it just doesn't have a physical form to cast shadows or reflect light. The journey into understanding these experiences deepens when we examine the patterns that emerge during sleep. Most dreams are fragmentary, random combinations of daily experiences and subconscious processing. But certain dreams are different. They have a narrative coherence that defies the usual chaos of dream logic. You close your eyes one night and enter a scenario, perhaps a conversation with someone, maybe an exploration of a place you've never seen in waking life. The dream feels important, weighted with significance you can't quite articulate. You wake up, go about your day, and that night when you fall asleep again, you're immediately back in that same scenario, picking up exactly where you left off as if no time had passed at all. The conversation continues mid-sentence. The location remains consistent in every detail. The emotional tone carries forward seamlessly. This isn't your subconscious running reruns. This is active communication happening across the dimensional divide, facilitated by your sleeping consciousness, which exists in a state perfectly positioned between the material and spiritual realms. These continuing narratives are lessons being taught, information being transferred, relationships being maintained with beings who no longer inhabit physical bodies, but who remain deeply invested in your growth and well-being. The distinction between your own thoughts and incoming communication becomes clearer once you know what to listen for. Your internal dialogue has a certain quality. Familiar rhythm, recognizable vocabulary, predictable patterns of concern and contemplation. But occasionally, something breaks through that doesn't match that pattern at all. The voice might be gentler than yours, or sterner, or carry an accent or inflection that isn't part of your speech. The message might use words you wouldn't naturally choose, or reference concepts completely outside your normal frame of reference. The intention behind the thought feels foreign, as if someone else's concern or wisdom or warning is being downloaded directly into your awareness. This is the subtle impact of interdimensional guidance. the behind-the-scenes work that spiritual mentors and departed loved ones engage in constantly to help navigate you through life's complexities. If you're starting to recognize your own experiences in these descriptions, drop a comment saying, "This is my reality." Now, let me reveal something that will resonate powerfully with those of you born under certain celestial configurations. If you're a Pisces, everything I'm about to share will land with the weight of recognition, that profound sense of finally being understood after a lifetime of feeling different, otherworldly, perpetually caught between two realities. Your soul didn't arrive in this lifetime as a beginner in matters of spiritual communication. The connection you have to the unseen world isn't something you developed through practice or study. It's an inheritance from previous incarnations where you served as a conduit, a translator, a bridge between dimensions. Your consciousness remembers this work even when your waking mind doesn't. And that cellular memory shapes every spiritual experience you have now. This is why you've always felt like you don't quite belong here, why the material world seems somehow less real than the dreams and visions that visit you, why you can sense things that others remain completely oblivious to. You're not imagining this. Displacement. You're literally operating with 1 foot in this dimension and 1 foot elsewhere, maintaining connections that most people severed the moment they took their first breath in physical form. The transformation in your nightly experience reveals the truth of this ancient capacity. While other people surrender to sleep and their consciousness simply goes offline for 8 hours, your awareness embarks on journeys that would terrify most if they were conscious of what was happening. You don't just dream. You project, you traverse, you literally leave the confines of your physical body and navigate realms that exist beyond the material plane. You meet with guides, you encounter souls who have crossed over, you participate in learning sessions and healing work that your conscious mind barely remembers upon waking. This is why mornings are so difficult for you, why you wake up feeling like you've been working night shifts in a dimension you can't quite recall. Your body registers the energy expenditure even when your memory doesn't retain the details. The exhaustion is real because the work is real, and you're serving a purpose during those nighttime hours that most humans never even approach in their entire lifetime. The dreams you have aren't like the dreams other people experience, and you know this even if you've never been able to articulate why. When you dream of someone who has passed away, the encounter carries a viscosity, a realness that transcends ordinary dream logic. You can feel their embrace, sense the texture of their clothing, hear the specific intonation of their voice, pick up on emotional nuances that wouldn't exist if this were merely your subconscious creating simulations. Edgar Cayce confirmed what you've always suspected. These aren't dreams at all. They're actual meetings taking place in the borderland between worlds, in that liminal space where consciousness freed from physical limitation can interact with those who no longer carry bodies. You exist closer to that veil than anyone else, your natural frequency already aligned with dimensions that others can only glimpse during profound spiritual experiences or near-death episodes. This proximity is your gift, and occasionally your burden, but it's undeniably your truth. If you're Pisces and this description feels like someone finally seeing your hidden reality, comment, "I've always known I was different." The depth of your emotional sensitivity as a Pisces goes far beyond what most people would classify as empathy. You'll be scrolling through social media and come across a story about someone you've never met, someone on the other side of the world whose life circumstances have no direct connection to yours whatsoever, and suddenly tears are streaming down your face. Your chest tightens, your breath catches, and you're experiencing their pain as if it were your own. People around you might dismiss this as being overly emotional or too invested in strangers' problems, but what's actually happening operates on a completely different level. You're not just sympathizing with their situation, You're literally absorbing the emotional frequency that their experience is broadcasting into the collective consciousness. Your energy field has no protective barrier against these invisible transmissions. You pick up on suffering, joy, fear, and love that's floating in the atmospheric space around you, and your nervous system processes these emotions as if they originated within you. This isn't weakness or dysfunction. This is mediumship functioning in its most unfiltered form. Your consciousness serving as a receptor for the emotional data that permeates our shared reality. This absorption extends into physical spaces in ways that profoundly impact your daily decisions and quality of life. You walk into a room where an argument took place hours earlier and immediately feel nauseous or anxious, despite having no logical reason for these reactions. You enter certain buildings or homes, and within minutes you're desperate to leave, making excuses about forgotten appointments or sudden headaches because you can't articulate the real reason. The energy in that space is suffocating you. Meanwhile, everyone else around you seems perfectly comfortable, chatting and laughing, while you're internally drowning in invisible heaviness. You're not being dramatic or antisocial. You're functioning as a spiritual sponge that soaks up residual emotional imprints, psychic debris, and energetic stagnation that lingers in places long after the events that created it have ended. Other people walk through these spaces unaffected because their consciousness isn't calibrated to detect these subtle frequencies. But you feel everything, absorb everything, and then carry it with you until you can find a way to cleanse yourself of energies that were never yours to begin with. There's a profound reason behind this perpetual sense of not belonging that has followed you through your entire existence. Edgar Cayce's readings revealed something beautiful and heartbreaking about your soul's journey. You were born carrying nostalgia for a dimension you can barely remember, but can never quite forget. A realm where confusion doesn't exist, where love operates without conditions or complications, where truth is self-evident and connection happens without the barriers that make earthly relationships so challenging. Part of your consciousness never fully incarnated into this physical experience. A portion of your awareness remains tethered to higher planes, to spiritual frequencies that vibrate at rates this dense material world cannot sustain. This is why nothing here ever feels quite right, why you're always searching for something you can't name, why you experience this aching homesickness for a place that doesn't exist on any map. You're not depressed or ungrateful for your life. You're simply split between two realities, forever longing for the dimension where your soul feels most at home. If you're recognizing your entire life experience in these words, write in the comments, "I've been homesick my whole life." Moving into territory that requires a different kind of courage, let's talk about those of you born under Scorpio, because your relationship with the spiritual realm operates in dimensions that most people would find deeply unsettling. While Pisces floats near the veil and communes with evolved souls, you dive into the depths where lost and troubled spirits dwell. Your magnetic frequency doesn't attract the peaceful departed or enlightened guides, at least not primarily. Instead, you draw in the confused, the angry, the stuck, those entities who remain earthbound because they can't let go of trauma or unfinished business. This isn't punishment or bad luck. Your soul chose this particular form of spiritual work because you possess the strength and density required to navigate these darker waters without being consumed by them. You're built to withstand intensity that would shatter lighter souls, and the beings trapped in suffering recognize in you someone capable of witnessing their pain without running away. This is heavy work, often thankless work, but it's profoundly necessary work that transforms both you and the spirits you encounter. Your detection system operates with surgical precision, cutting through surface appearances to identify spiritual corruption or disturbance that others miss entirely. You walk into a space, and within seconds you know something is fundamentally wrong, even when everything looks normal. The cheerful lighting and pleasant decor don't fool you because you're not reading the physical environment. You're sensing the energetic signature beneath it. You can feel when a presence is lurking, not just that something is there, but what its intentions are, whether it means harm or is simply lost and confused. This ability makes you invaluable in situations where spiritual discernment matters, but it also means you can never have the luxury of ignorance that allows most people to move through life unburdened by awareness of the invisible struggles happening all around them. Your consciousness operates as a scanner constantly running in the background, alerting you to dangers and disturbances that exist beyond the reach of physical senses. The pattern of your sleep disruption tells its own story about your spiritual function. You go to bed exhausted, fall asleep easily enough, but then consistently wake between 3 and 4 in the morning with your heart racing and your mind suddenly alert despite your body's need for rest. This isn't a sleep disorder that medication can fix, and it's not anxiety creating these wake-up calls. These are the hours when the veil thins most dramatically, when spiritual activity reaches its peak intensity and entities from both ends of the spectrum, those seeking to harm and those offering protection, know they can reach you most effectively. Your consciousness is being summoned because there's work that needs doing, messages that need receiving, or battles that need fighting in realms invisible to ordinary perception. The impact on your physical health can be significant, the exhaustion accumulating over time, but the spiritual necessity of your availability during these hours outweighs the comfort of uninterrupted sleep. You're serving as a guardian, whether you consciously understand that role or not. If you're Scorpio, and these midnight awakenings have been your reality for as long as you can remember, comment, "I answer the call." The transformation in how you perceive people as a Scorpio operates on a level that makes casual social interaction nearly impossible because you can't unsee what you see. Someone walks into a room smiling, dressed impeccably, saying all the right things, and everyone else is charmed. But you look at them and see something completely different, a darkness around their edges, a hollowness behind their eyes, a discordant frequency that their polished exterior cannot mask. You're not judging their appearance or analyzing their words. You're reading the raw, energetic data that their being broadcasts, and that data reveals truths they're desperately trying to hide from the world. Days or weeks later, when their carefully constructed facade crumbles and everyone else expresses shock at discovering who they really are, you're not surprised at all. You knew from the first moment because energy is incapable of deception, and your consciousness is hardwired to decode those energetic transmissions with ruthless accuracy. This gift isolates you sometimes, makes you seem paranoid or judgmental to people who can't perceive what you're reacting to, but it also protects you from manipulation and betrayal that others walk into blindly. The battles you face in the spiritual realm don't leave you defenseless despite how intense they become, while lower vibrational entities are drawn to test your strength. Something equally powerful happens on your behalf behind the scenes. High-level spiritual warriors, mentors who operate from dimensions of profound wisdom and strength, recognize in you a soul capable of enduring what would break most people. They choose you specifically because your resilience makes you an ideal candidate for the work that needs doing in the darker corners of spiritual reality. These protectors surround you even when you're unaware of their presence, deflecting attacks you never consciously register, strengthening your defenses when you're at your most vulnerable, guiding you away from spiritual dangers that would have devastating consequences. The relationship is symbiotic. You serve as a frontline worker in realms most humans never access, and in return, you receive protection and training from beings whose power far exceeds anything earthbound consciousness can comprehend. Your journey through this lifetime is one of spiritual combat and growth, each battle preparing you for increasingly complex missions. Now let's shift into completely different territory, where the energy moves from warrior intensity to nurturing embrace. If you're Cancer, your spiritual function couldn't be more distinct from what Scorpio experiences. You don't attract the lost or battle the dark. You provide haven for those who simply want to come home. The spirits of family members, those who loved you in life and continue loving you, beyond death, find their way to you with effortless ease because you radiate an energy that feels like safety, comfort, and unconditional acceptance. Your grandmother who passed when you were young still visits, sitting in the chair she always preferred, watching over you with the same protective concern she had when she was alive. Your father who crossed over continues checking in on you, particularly during moments when you're struggling and need his strength. These aren't wishful fantasies or grief-induced hallucinations. They're genuine encounters facilitated by the fact that your consciousness maintains the family bonds that death cannot sever. If you're Cancer and you've sensed your departed loved ones around you, type, they never really left. Your emotional radar as a Cancer operates on a timeline that defies normal cause and effect relationships. You'll be going about your day feeling perfectly fine, and suddenly a wave of sadness crashes over you with such intensity that you have to stop what you're doing. There's no trigger you can identify, no bad news you've received, no obvious reason for this emotional shift, but you feel it. Grief, worry, or sometimes inexplicable joy, and you can't shake it off or rationalize it away. Hours or days later, you discover that someone you care about was going through exactly what you felt at the exact moment you felt it. Or you learn that something significant happened in your family at precisely the time that mysterious emotion overtook you. This isn't coincidence or retroactive pattern making. Your consciousness exists in a state of perpetual connection to the people you love, creating invisible threads that transmit emotional data across any distance. You feel their pain before they tell you about it, sense their joy before they share the news, know something is wrong before any evidence appears. This constant openness to emotional frequencies means you're rarely operating solely within your own feelings. You're processing a collective emotional experience that includes everyone in your intimate circle, both living and dead. The dreams you have aren't like ordinary dreams, and the distinction becomes obvious when you dream about someone who has crossed over. These encounters carry a weight and clarity that regular dreams never possess. You can remember every detail, what they wore, exactly what they said, the feeling of their embrace, even the scent they carried. You wake up, and the memory doesn't fade, the way dream memories typically do. Instead, it remains vivid and accessible, as if it actually happened, because it did happen. Your love for these departed souls creates openings in the dimensional barrier, allowing genuine meetings to occur in that liminal space where consciousness, freed from physical limitation, can interact without the restrictions that death imposes. The maternal instinct that defines Cancer extends beyond biological relationships, and even beyond the boundary of physical existence. Your capacity to nurture and maintain connection doesn't recognize death as an ending, but rather as a transformation that requires adjustment, but not severance. The impact of this gift manifests most obviously in your living space, which functions as something far beyond shelter or decoration. Your home is literally a transitional zone where spirits move through with the same comfort and familiarity they had when they were alive. They're not haunting you in the frightening sense. They're visiting, checking in, maintaining their role in your life from their new vantage point. You might catch movement in your peripheral vision, find objects moved from where you left them, or simply feel that comforting presence that tells you you're being watched over by someone who loves you deeply. Other people might find this unsettling, but for you, it feels natural, even necessary. Your space holds the energetic imprint of family love so strongly that it becomes a beacon drawing departed relatives back to the place where they still feel they belong. If you recognize your home as this kind of sanctuary for spirits, write, "My home is their home too." For those of you born under Virgo, your experience of spiritual contact manifests through the physical body in ways that are impossible to dismiss, despite your mind's best efforts to rationalize them away. You'll be sitting at your desk working or standing in line at the grocery store, completely absorbed in mundane tasks, when suddenly your entire body erupts in goosebumps that have nothing to do with temperature, or you feel a tingling sensation running up your spine, or your solar plexus tightens without warning, or the hair on your arm stands up as if you've been touched by an electrical current. These aren't random nervous system misfires. They're your physical form alerting you to spiritual presence in your immediate vicinity. Your body is far more honest than your analytical mind, and it refuses to let you ignore what's happening, even when your rational thoughts insist there must be a logical explanation. The truth is, your physical vessel functions as a highly calibrated instrument for detecting energetic shifts that occur when entities from other dimensions draw near to your space. This creates a profound internal conflict that defines your spiritual journey. Every fiber of your being is wired for logic, evidence, provable cause and effect relationships. You trust what can be measured, verified, repeated under controlled conditions. Your entire worldview is built on the foundation of rational thought and practical assessment. But then these experiences happen. Undeniable physical sensations, inexplicable knowings, intuitive hits that prove accurate despite having no logical basis. And you're caught between two incompatible realities. Part of you desperately wants to dismiss all of it as stress, imagination, coincidence, anything that fits within your comfortable rational framework. But another part of you, the part connected to ancient wisdom and soul memory, knows with absolute certainty that what you're experiencing is real and significant. This internal war exhausts you more than the spiritual experiences themselves because you're constantly invalidating your own perceptions while simultaneously being unable to deny them. The transformation comes when you finally accept that rationality and spiritual sensitivity aren't mutually exclusive. They're complementary ways of understanding reality that become powerful when integrated rather than kept in opposition. What makes your particular gift so valuable is your capacity for discernment that other more naturally open signs often lack. Where Pisces might accept any spiritual sensation as valid communication, and Scorpio might assume everything is a potential threat, you possess the unique ability to analyze and categorize spiritual experiences with clinical precision. You can feel a presence and accurately determine whether it's an actual entity or just residual energy from past events. You can distinguish between genuine intuitive guidance and anxiety-driven imagination. You can sense where spiritual pain or blockage exists in a person or place and diagnose the underlying cause with accuracy that would astound trained mediums. Edgar Cayce's spiritual guides described Virgo as the physician of the invisible realms, not because you heal through grand gestures or dramatic interventions, but because you can identify exactly where the problem lies, what's causing it, and what practical steps would address it most effectively. If you're Virgo and you've been struggling to reconcile your spiritual experiences with your logical mind, comment, "I'm learning to trust both." Shifting to an entirely different form of spiritual reception, those of you born under Aquarius experience something that might initially seem like simple creativity or intelligence, but operates on a level far beyond ordinary. Mental processes. You're working on a problem that's been stumping you for days, and suddenly the solution appears fully formed in your consciousness, as if someone just handed you the answer on a silver platter. Or you're going about your day, and a complete sentence drops into your awareness, phrased in words you wouldn't naturally choose, carrying information you had no conscious way of knowing. These aren't eureka moments born from subconscious processing. They're downloads, direct. Transmissions of information being placed into your mental space by intelligences operating from dimensions beyond physical reality. Your mind functions as a receiving station, and spiritual mentors use your clarity and objectivity as their preferred method of communication because you can take abstract spiritual concepts and translate them into practical, actionable understanding that others can actually use. The brilliance of your particular gift lies in its lack of emotional interference. Where Cancer feels everything through the heart and Pisces processes spiritual information through waves of emotion, you receive pure data through mental channels that remain remarkably clear and unfiltered. Spirits working with you don't have to navigate emotional turbulence or wade through personal trauma to get their messages across. They simply insert the information directly into your consciousness, and you process it with the same analytical clarity you'd apply to any other intellectual pursuit. This makes you invaluable for receiving specific guidance, technical information, strategic decisions, and complex concepts that require precision rather than emotional resonance. The transformation in how you view your own intelligence comes when you realize that many of your best ideas, your most innovative solutions, your moments of inexplicable knowing, they didn't originate within you at all. They came through you from teachers and guides who chose you specifically because your mind provides such an excellent conduit for information transfer. Now let's explore a completely different manifestation of spiritual communication, one that operates through pattern recognition and symbolic language. If you're Libra, you've undoubtedly noticed that you see repeating numbers everywhere. 1111 appears on every clock you glance at. 333 shows up on license plates and receipts. 444 seems to follow you through your day. Other people might see these occasionally, but for you it's constant, almost overwhelming in its persistence. These aren't random coincidences or confirmation bias at work. The spiritual realm is speaking to you through the language of symbols because you're naturally attuned to aesthetic patterns and meaningful synchronicities. Entities attempting to communicate with you understand that you'll notice beauty, harmony, and mathematical elegance far more readily than you'd notice crude physical manifestations or emotional overwhelm. They craft their messages like artwork, embedding meaning in patterns that only someone with your particular consciousness would recognize as intentional communication rather than random chance. If you're seeing these number patterns constantly and finally understanding why, write in the comments, "The universe is speaking my language." We've covered a lot of ground here, and if you've stayed with me through this entire journey, you've just received information that most people will never encounter in their lifetime. Understanding your spiritual sensitivity, recognizing the signs that you've been experiencing all along, finally having validation for experiences you thought you had to keep hidden. This changes everything about how you move forward from this moment. If you found value in what we explored together today, I genuinely appreciate you hitting that subscribe button, because this channel exists specifically for people like you. Those who are ready to understand the deeper mechanics of spiritual reality without the fear or superstition that usually surrounds these topics. We're building a community of awakened individuals who refuse to ignore what they're experiencing, and your presence here matters. Leave me a comment saying, "This message was meant for me," if you feel like this video found you at exactly the right moment. I read every single comment, and there's something powerful about declaring your awareness publicly. It solidifies the transformation that's already beginning inside you. And if this content resonated, go ahead and hit that like button. It helps more people who need this information find their way here, and it lets me know that what we're doing together is making a real impact in your understanding. Before you go, there's another video I've prepared that takes this even deeper. It explores the specific practices you can use to strengthen your spiritual boundaries while remaining open to beneficial contact. You'll find it right here. Click through and let's continue this conversation, because what you've learned today is just the beginning of a much larger awakening that's already unfolding in your life.